Welcome to the Judgment Free Zone. You've downloaded the Alcohol Free Marriage Podcast, episode 21 for August 29th, 2022.
Now adjust the volume control so that the sound can be heard in all parts of the room.
Recorded live from the cornfields of Central Illinois, you're listening to the Alcohol Free Marriage Podcast with Matt and Amy. Come and learn and share a journey with two former craft beer enthusiasts who went from daily drinkers to teetotalers and basically never lost their love for their life together.
Hey, a freak show!
Well, hello there, children. Welcome back to your weekly freak show that is the Alcohol Free Marriage Podcast. I am Matt, along with the always lovely Coach Amy. How are you, my love?
I'm good.
Gotta keep fresh.
I don't know. Is that fresh?
Gotta keep it fresh, Amy.
I don't know if that's fresh,
Our podcast is old enough to drink if the podcast drank. It's 21.
I know.
It's 21, baby.
Isn't that interesting why we make such a big deal about
I don't know.
coming of age 21, even though you're legally an adult when you're 18? And you don't have to pay insurance. Your parents have to keep it on it until you're 26.
So really 26 that's more of an age parents get excited about, not the youth of America, I think, because that means they've got to pay for it. So, but you know, this is not the insurance podcast because that would be really boring. You think we're boring? Try the insurance podcast. That's super boring. I mean, how was your week? It was back to school week, the official back to school week.
1 week down.
I don't know how many weeks are in a school year.
I don't either.
The rest remain.
The rest are still in front of us.
There you go.
Kind of stressful at the end. We've got some...
Well, you got to wrap up the senior year. You got to pick up, getting ready for the freshman year of college. There's a lot going, winding down, winding up.
Lot going on with the classes. Lot of goofy stuff with that. Not happy about that at all.
You know, but you're not drinking through it, so there you go.
I know. You know what? I'll tell you what. That is... I haven't thought about and that's not... It's not crossed my mind.
You're not any less frustrated. It's just you don't look for that as the solution to the problem.
Yeah, I'm not looking for that.
Because frankly, let's be honest, it wouldn't solve anything.
No, it just makes it worse. It always made it worse for the next day. Yeah. So anyways.
It doesn't go away. Problems don't go away just because you drink it. Temporarily, I guess it go away, but not really.
Yeah. You just damn.
It's kind of like if you try and move and think your problems won't follow you. You know,
no, they just...
Especially if they're in your head. They're going to go with you.
No, it just...
Because your brain goes with you. That's just kind of how it works.
Prolongs all of it.
All of it. All of it, kids.
It does. It's going to come out.
Okay. Well, we don't have an interview this week, so happy, sad, otherwise. But we do obviously have the drink of the week. Amy, what is your drink of the week?
My drink of the week is the Giesen Rosé.
Which is new to us anyway. We've only seen the Giesen
and it's
7
It's the 0% alcohol. Dealcoholized from New Zealand.
Yes.
And they have the...
Sauvignon Blanc is the other one, I think.
Okay.
I think. It's white. It's a white wine.
I like it.
This is the Rosé, which we ran across recently.
I do. It's
a solid. It's a solid. There's one a little bit better, but it's a lot more expensive. So for the price point, Giesen.
Yeah, we should get a bottle of the
Luminaire.
Is it Luminaire or Luminary?
I don't know. Guess we have to buy a bottle and look it up. There you go.
Well,
there you go. But that's not this week.
But anyways, I like it.
Say that for another week.
It is very light. It's one of those, I think I've said this before, the longer I've been away from wine, I don't have that, does this taste like wine or does this not taste like wine? Who was that? Was that you or me?
That was you texting me when you haven't been texting me, which is weird. Took that long for that text to come through. Oh my gosh. Anyway.
Interesting.
But the longer you've been away from wine, the more you probably don't notice.
Yeah, but I also understand though that when you get the dealcoholized,
it is wine. Mm-hmm. It's been wine. It is wine. Just took the alcohol out.
It's very good.
Which obviously changes the flavor profile a little bit. But speaking of dealcoholized items, my drink of the week is Untitled Arts. I didn't know so was that mango dragon fruit fruited sour.
How is that?
It's very good. And I'm not even a sour person, but this is like, you've had this, right?
I don't think so. I don't know.
I think you have. It's fruity enough, but it's sour in the way of like a little tang, but not like some sours are like eating a Sour Patch Kid. It just has a little it has twang.
A nice little, it has a twang.
Twang.
And It's a good finish.
It has a nice fruity color if it was in a glass. But it's not in a glass, kids. Because
it's very good. So there you go. That's what we're drinking this week.
That's what we are drinking. That's the advantage of doing this later in the day. It doesn't feel so weird to have you can drink it any time, but it's weird to have
we're
NA
coming
beer
to
at
you
10 in the morning.
and in the evening.
This is a special evening edition of the podcast.
Well, remember, Matt, it is 5 o'clock somewhere.
That is true. Speaking of 5 o'clock somewhere, don't we have a freebie for people?
Yes, we have our 5 o'clock somewhere alcohol-free edition. 7 tips for taking a break from alcohol. You'll receive top tips that helped Matt and I when we took our 30-day break from alcohol. The importance of your why, how keeping the ritual and replacing the ingredients really works, our top visualization tactic, why community and mindset matter, and our top favorite sober podcasts and Quit Lit. So
I was really impressed for a second until I looked over and realized you were reading that. I thought you had that all in your head. I'm like, wow, she's doing
and then the last thing on there is our top tip for an individual or a couple trying to quit together or separately. So going out there, all you have to do is just go to joyontheotherside.
Good job.
Sign up for my upcoming newsletter and haven't gotten that together yet in whole thing.
Sign up now while she's not sending anything.
But anyways, you know what? You can get this. I have sent it out to quite a few people, and they've been really happy with it. So there's
about version 3 of it, isn't it? So
yeah, I'm really happy with it as well.
Yeah, it's very, very professional looking.
Yes,
so very professional.
Get out there.
Almost like you know what you're doing out there with the Canvas of the world.
Oh, I guess I should. Should I make my little announcement too? If you guys are familiar with This Naked Mind, the methodology, there's the free alcohol experiment.
30-day, right?
Yeah, the free 30-day alcohol experiment. There's 100 Days of Lasting Change, which is another program that I did when I quit. I mean, I kept taking a break. I just kept
You're still taking a break, just
I'm
really long.
I'm still taking a break.
Yeah, break.
But there's another program called The Path, and that is a 3-month program. And I am actually going to be group coaching in it. Yeah. So I'm very excited in October.
So if you're in The Path, you get to talk to Amy personally.
Yeah. So
I know people are clamoring to do that. So
it is an awesome program. We'll get the statistics from people who have quit with This Naked Mind. I have access to that. I don't have that readily available at my fingertips, but we will go over that
in
sometime.
Next week when Amy shares a stat. That'll bring him right back. I know you've been dying for stats, people, right?
Well, but remember, I mean, for us, the reason it wasn't easy, but the mind shift.
Yes, I would agree.
It's so different. It's really different from.
It is. You quit trying to quit.
Right? Quit trying to quit.
Right.
Get the knowledge, learn.
I'm just not drinking for now. It just happened to be 600 days I haven't drank. So
isn't that's amazing?
That's a lot of days.
And on the day that this podcast airs,
what's more amazing is it's like 2,000 drinks I've passed on, which is just like mind blowing on its own. But sorry,
I have no idea what I'm in a different app than you.
Yeah.
When this airs
tomorrow,
when
it airs,
I will be at 888 days.
Almost pushing 1,000.
I'm just loving that 888.
Sure. Sounds
well, I
good.
missed 777. I ignored 666.
Well, right. That's just not even. No, you just want to skip right over that one.
But
just go for 667.
And because I don't really count days now. I haven't counted days for probably since that first year. Kind of getting up, and I don't even think I did it. It was more of an occasional. Oh, let's see where we're at.
I'm not trying for a number, so I really don't care what my days are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun to look at. I'm more, like I said, I'm more amazed by the number of drinks
passed. You should. How about Imodium passed?
Oh, what is it? 600 times 3, so about 1,800. Imodium. You want to talk about gut health, people? Quit the booze. I'm just telling
quality of life.
And Imodium ain't cheap, kids.
No, it's not.
Imodium is not cheap.
Not at all. And you can't find it always.
That's true. I haven't looked recently, but
there you go. Yeah. Well, you know what? It might be more available now.
Maybe less available. Who knows? I don't know.
No, in our area.
because I'm not buying all of it. That's where it all went, is my cabinet. Anyway, Amy, speaking of statistics, we're bringing it back. We haven't done this for a while, and I'm happy to announce it's Booze News with your hosts, Matt, and I guess Amy this time. I probably had that up too loud for anybody to hear anything, but anyway. Love this song.
Just so excited about the graphic, the music, and everything.
I know. Oh, crap. I gotta find the graphic again. I haven't used it in so long. For those watching the YouTubes, you may or may not have seen the graphic pop up. But we didn't have a big topic, but I did find some. I think these kind of tie together, Amy.
Yes.
And I want to preface all of these with, we try and approach these from a non-biased standpoint, right? Because the headlines will try and drag you one way or the other. We try and talk through them from pros and cons. Like they're not all full of crap, but they spin it one way or the other way depending on what your motive is, right? So
well, and I want to also, we'll put in the show notes the Huberman Lab podcast. Let me go here.
Which
you have not listened to it, but it just came out this week. And Andrew Huberman, he is a PhD. He is a neuroscientist and a tenured professor in the Department of Neurobiology at the Stanford University School of Medicine.
I went there too. Not at all.
So anyways, he went through, let me go to, I just want to.
What's the punchline here, Hoss?
Well, no, he basically this week he did a whole series. Well, it's not a series. It's a really long podcast, but he does have
like
it
2 hours or something.
He has it time stamped, but he basically goes through what alcohol does to your body, brain, and your health. And he is very, I mean, he's just doing the science.
Well, speaking of neuroscience, from neurosciencenews.com, your biggest news source for neuroscience. I don't know. That's what Google told me.
Who knows? He might actually be a contributor. I don't know.
It says reduce alcohol consumption by working out. A study shows that aerobic exercise and yoga, surprisingly, were equally effective in reducing alcohol consumption compared to usual care. The researchers also found that single sessions of aerobic exercise reduced cravings for alcohol, which I think we kind of knew that, lowered anxiety, and improved mood state. This suggests that the optimal time to exercise is when cravings are high, typically in the afternoon or evening. Repeatedly replacing the alcohol with brief sessions of exercise may rewire the brain, which I think we've found that I think you found that, right? That, the evening thing, totally, right? It gives you something to do. Like you're doing something else, whether the exercise helps or not, it just gives you an activity when you're not drinking. But I think the neural part is probably right. It increases your brain stuff, right?
Yes.
I'm looking at you hoping you have a better word than brain stuff.
Come on, Coach. When you have your thoughts, okay, thoughts are things, okay? So you have a thought, and it can even be a habit. So you're going to go, and I'm going to go for a walk. Just that thought, and then you're going for that walk is actually sending messages down your neural or through your neural pathways, and it actually is also building gray matter. And so when you're doing this, you're creating those thoughts and you're doing these new thought patterns, you're actually rewiring your brain.
So if you're having that craving, you start to work out, then
but you have to also remember, like, the one thing about with alcohol also is so many of us have started drinking so young that we basically created, I call them, they're ruts. They're neural pathway ruts, and they're pretty strong. I mean, so in order to quit drinking, you really do have to rewire your brain.
Because you already wired it one way.
You've wired it one way, and I'll tell you what.
With the help of a nice drug, so that makes it harder.
Yes, well, it's because of the dopamine, and then you have the stimulants that are released. It's just this vicious cycle, and your body is always wanting to maintain homeostasis,
which is a fun word.
So, yeah, it is a fun word, isn't it?
Homeostasis.
Homeostasis.
I did think it was interesting, though, the yoga. I would not think yoga. I can see the aerobic part, but I mean, real yoga is not easy.
But when you're in a pose,
it's probably because your brain is doing something else.
You have to stay in that pose, and you're meditating a lot. I mean, I love meditative yoga, and so you're occupying your brain. You're focusing on your breath and staying in that pose,
and the pose, not falling over.
Yes, which That would be me. That's why I do yoga over there, where there's a couple of different things where I can hold on to stuff.
Look, I can balance. But I do think a big part of that, I mean, I totally understand that workout will help you mentally, but an activity, I think that was one of the biggest things for us.
It's a diversion. You got to do something different.
If every night you were like me and you're having a drink and sitting in your chair watching TV, and that's just what you did every night, and you decide to not do that, if you're not doing something else, exercise or whittling or something.
Well, and that's why we always talk about, keeping the ritual, and
right.
Especially at the beginning, and replacing the ingredients. That is pretty key. It's
that helped us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so we focused on that, but then it was kind of
did the same things.
We did that, and then it was like, okay, well, let's go for a walk, or let's go do something. And you know what? Quite honestly, our dog needed walked anyways. Poor dog. I mean, she's in great shape. Right,
because she has walk because we're not sitting around drinking all the time. But Amy, you touched on a point that actually you talking about. We started at a young age and we wired our brains. This next story says the first sip of booze changes the brain forever and leads to addiction.
Interesting.
So these alcohol-induced changes support the theory that first alcohol intoxication at an early age is a critical factor for future drinking addiction, which I cannot totally disagree with. And now it's mice, but whatever. Brain scans of mice that had been intoxicated for the first time showed, quote unquote, lasting changes in how their neurons communicated even after their binge.
Well, it's because your neuroplasticity, when you're young, your brain can learn things so quickly and so fast that when you have a drink of alcohol at a young age, your brain hooks onto that really quick.
Which is crazy.
You've taught your brain. So when you see people who are like maybe younger when they quit, because I've known different people who are like at 23, 24 years old.
Which amazes me personally, but.
Exactly. But they are able to rewire their brains much more quickly than people
locked in
who are older. Yeah. And so that is absolutely, that's
quit
something.
At 20, don't drink till for 20 years.
Yeah, but it's all about your brain hasn't even fully developed until you're 24, 25 years old.
I mean, this is sort of an extreme example, but you look at like crack. They always say like one hit of crack and you're addicted. Well, not quite as extreme, but I think this is what this is getting to is you start early, start young, your brain gets kicked in and used to that. Because they also say, those are more likely to go on and increase their alcohol consumption over time than relapse later in life.
Yes, that is that's true. Because once again, if you're younger and you quit, you can retrain your brain because it's much more. It's more malleable. Malleable. Yes. So
when you get old, like your bones aren't malleable either.
Yeah,
anymore.
you can and rewire your brain, but it does. That's why there are so many people who it does take time to quit. It takes, on average, I believe it's between 7 and 10 times trying to quit drinking. Alcohol is the only drug that you're supposed to quit and quit perfectly.
Right. I mean, I quit smoking, but
and no one
it probably took me 5 or 6 times to do that too. So
yeah, no one ever, and I guess that's one of the things. It's like no one has ever, like if you were still smoking or you were quit, no one ever came up to you and said, "Hey, why aren't you having a cigarette? When are you gonna have a cigarette with me?
You don't gonna have a cigarette? Come on, let's go have a cigarette. Let's go to that craft cigarette place." Not like craft cigarette places, probably.
No.
But in a related story, a recent study found that drinking 7 or more units of alcohol a week is linked to brain changes and cognitive decline.
Correct.
So, that's just one a day.
I'm trying to see. No, I don't think I have the right book down here.
Oh, that's right.
You can read about a lot of this in the Naked Mind. You really can. But you can also go to that podcast, and we'll put that in the link because he goes through all of it.
Well, and the cognitive thing, you get into long-term use and continued long-term use, even at a low volume, can still lead to problems with like Alzheimer's and those type of things. And that specific study was talking about it causes an increase in iron in the brain, apparently.
Wow.
So I call it like rusty brain. That's my own word. But, increase of any heavy metal in your brain is probably not good, iron or otherwise. But Just another point that there's really not a technically safe volume of poison you can drink, kids.
I found it interesting this week because I did a post, and I really analyzed how much I was drinking on a Friday.
Oh. When it's 3 o'clock somewhere?
When we would go, yeah. Because I was like, hey, our joke was, well, it's 3 o'clock, but it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah.
So, but when we would go out, I would always count one. It was, I had 2. But that is based on a 12 ounce. An actual serving is based on 12 ounces of beer.
And probably usually 5 ounce or 5%, excuse me.
Yes. And we were doing 16 ounces most of the time.
Mine were 12, but they're also like 9%. So
okay, mine was not. Mine was a pint.
16, but probably I think 6.
It was like
6.5%.
I think it's like a 5.5 or maybe a 6. But anyway, so you figure that up, and then you and we would have 2. We'd eat a horrible meal. I mean, it would be really good, but we'd eat a greasy
whatever,
French fries or all of that,
pizza or something.
And then we would get 4-pack, 6-pack, whatever to go.
At least, if not a full growler.
And so I would come home and I'd have one of those. And then usually I would have, not always, but quite a bit of the time, I would then finish it off with a glass of wine.
There you go. Little nightcap.
And when I figured that out, just in that, let's see, I think I figured out that was 3.5, like 4 or 5.
Are you talking units?
Like, yeah, if you're going to, well, no, it would be more than that. But I mean, I'm just figuring out like how many.
5 drinks, yeah.
5 drinks.
Oh, yeah.
And,
I was watching one of our old vlogs on a Saturday morning, and I'm like, I'm tired. I'm like, yeah, you look like hell because you're hungover as crap. I mean, you can totally tell. I'm like, you're not. I look at myself in the morning now like I'm tired. I do not look like that at all.
No, and then you get up and you are, I don't know. I don't have the anxiety anymore. That's true. That is like the for me, I mean,
I know it's when I've traveled, but yes.
But your anxiety is gone way down. Mine, it's so much better. I mean,
yeah.
And
I don't know. I still go back to the pooping.
Yes, I was going to say yes. That's your main. Mine is that I don't have to wake up and have that anxiety first thing in the morning, because I would wake up and I would just be and sleep.
I didn't have a problem there, but it wasn't restorative. But I did have a dream. I think I told you the other night that I started drinking again, and I was worried that I was going to start pooping again. So there you go. If you have stomach problems, I'm telling you, you think I'm crazy. I'm not. Well, I am, but for the totally other reason.
I even noticed when I quit that my shoes fit me better.
Oh, less swollenness?
Yeah.
Well, you do retain a lot of...
The inflammation.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I weigh less, but let's see, I weigh a lot. I don't know, I lost like 14 pounds or so. And I've pretty much kept that off, but I'm wearing a smaller size than when I previously was at that weight.
So you have all the inflammation.
I don't have all that stomach bloat.
That'll happen. Yeah, you lose a lot of that too.
Yeah, and your hair comes back, except for you.
Yeah, don't buy that, kids. I am believing that.
My hair.
I think that's a bridge too far for me now. This last one, Amy's a little.
Which one's this?
So this one's maybe a little. What's the word I'm looking for?
You really need to have this like flip over.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't space it out to print perfectly double-sided. But so I bolded this because this is both therapy and it's psychotherapy. So I'm going to preface this story with, I'm not saying...
Oh, psychedelics.
Yeah, because what I'm prefacing is, this story talks about psychedelics, psilocybin, magic mushrooms. Could reduce excessive drinking, a small study shows. But I want to stress that this is also done with psychotherapy, because when you hear about these people, and I think there's, from what I've read and watched, I think there's probably some good uses for it. But all of them always say it's not you just take it and lay in bed and hope it works. Like it's literally not a magic pill. Like it's paired with other work, other mental work, other
want to say
studies.
that Gabor Mate, I think he is a doctor who Gabor Mate, and I think that he has done some work with this as well, and it does work. But most people who are really abusing alcohol, or who are further on the alcohol spectrum, alcohol use disorder, they also are drinking because they have either past trauma or psychological or suffer from anxiety or something like that.
I think it's double effect.
Yes.
So this is a small study on the therapeutic effects of using psychedelics to treat alcohol use disorder. Found that just 2 doses of psilocybin magic mushrooms paired with psychotherapy, again, led to an 83% decline in heavy drinking among the participants. Those given the placebo reduced their alcohol intake by 51%. So interesting that, I think it's statistically notable, but there's still a decent amount who just quit because of the placebo effect. By the end of the 8-month trial, nearly half of those who received the psilocybin had stopped drinking entirely, compared to about a quarter of those given the placebo. So I just think it's interesting that, again, this was done controlled. It was done. I wouldn't encourage anybody just to go grab some magic mushrooms and hope that solves your problems. I don't think it's going to work.
Well, but I think this is an area that is, it's going to be becoming more relevant. I think they are working, a lot more with the psychedelics, and they're finding that it actually does help with trauma that people have gone to. I know PTSD. They've definitely used it with soldiers, and so I think there's actually more studies. I'm not going to say that. I have no idea, but what I have heard, and don't quote me because I don't know either, is that they say maybe that's not addictive, but it's like the addictive properties aren't there like it would be with like an alcohol or marijuana. Definitely not alcohol, but like a marijuana. But it can.
I think anything can be abused.
But one of the side effects is schizophrenia.
True.
Schizophrenia.
And I think that's the point of doing this in a controlled environment.
Yeah.
And and I think it does something to your brain too. If you're doing something in a controlled, therapeutic environment versus just taking it on a Friday night to go out and party.
Yeah,
I think your brain treats it differently too. So I think there's more than going on, because you had a big percentage of people who quit who didn't take any of it, right? So obviously some of it was just going through the therapy, going through a process like the Naked Mind or anything we all go through, right? Like you went through a therapeutic process, you thought about your drinking, so that part alone drives, I think, a lot of it. Maybe this, the magic mushrooms just assisted some people a little further.
And I would.
I'm not endorsing it. I'm just saying.
No,
I found it an interesting story.
It's very interesting. Yeah. And what we watched, what was it? That one.
That was a whole thing about
something about the fungi or something fantastic fungi or something. I don't know, but
it's all about psilocybin.
It was very interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of research.
Maybe we can try to find a link for that too, because it was one of those where you're watching, you're like going,
Anybody knows anything about psilocybin?
Well, and I think one of the reasons too that it's not been as prevalent is because if you can go and do 2 of these and get therapy along with it, there's not a big cha-ching for the drug companies.
Well, right, yeah.
So,
but if I can keep you on Wellbutrins and Xanax and those other things,
we want to keep you on these. Which I think there was another study that just recently came out that said like the Wellbutrin or whatever, it's with the serotonin and all of that. And in the Huberman Lab podcast, listen to that, because he also talks about that study and how they're like, oh, well, it doesn't really work with the serotonin. But there's something there
like the serotonin is not the fix or something.
Yeah, there's something there that it is fixing. Now, I'm not a scientist. Clearly.
We wouldn't be doing this podcast if we were.
Clearly, I'm not. But just, there are things. I want to go back to that.
Do your own research, kids.
Well, yeah, but I also want to go back to that study about exercise and then also doing yoga, meditation, journaling. The reason that journaling works for people, when you actually decide that you're going to do it, it's because you think it, then you write it, and then you read it. So you've got 3 times that you're actually going through that process of just one thought. And it really does help get those, whatever those negative thoughts out.
I'd love to know if I feel like more women do the journaling than men.
I have actually, I think there's quite a few, there's men who also journal.
I did it when I did the 30-day
The experiment?
The experiment, because I was part of it. But then, I mean, I still have the journal, I guess, but I don't continue to do it. But I don't.
Well, and my problem is I journal all over the place. I don't have a consistent book I use. I'm like, well, here's a journal.
Here's a Post-it
I'll just write,
note.
because I want to, if I have a thought or something like that, I just want to get it out. Just get it out. Get it out of my brain.
You don't journal in your notepad app thing that we got?
Notepad app I got.
Yeah.
Growth Day?
No. What is that app? You got the little paper
Oh, the
cover?
notes? I take notes for different things. I don't really journal. Well, I was, but then you leave the journal downstairs, and then you have to just grab the notebook that's by the bed. But I will say, that's one of the things that with quitting drinking that you want to, one of the things is like you end up with a lot of free time.
Yes.
You end up, because when you figure you're sitting and drinking for a couple of hours every evening,
we can get a lot done in a couple hours.
you're like, I'm bored. And it's like, oh, well, I guess I was bored prior, but I was just drinking and I didn't realize I was bored. I was zoned out.
Right.
So, that's been kind of fun for me to figure out like what my interests were.
Although you almost get to a fault, because like, I'm okay being bored and just watching TV still sometimes. You're like, we have to do something. I'm like, I'm fine doing nothing, actually. I'm good. But you're like, we can do something. Come on, let's go do this. Let's do that. I'm like, fine, let's go.
You're addicted to
Relaxing.
a box.
I'm addicted to relaxing.
You have a box in front of you, zoning you out. What did you just do?
I'm trying to hit play on that. Wow, that was really loud. I apologize.
Was really loud. Wow, everybody.
Everybody had their AirPods in right now. It's like, wow, nice audio engineering there, Matt.
Clearly, he is not a scientist.
No, barely an audio engineer.
Yeah. So, anyways, guys, this was a short.
Just a short
one. We have coming up.
Well, first off, we're messing with the idea of doing interview than just us,
and coming up with some different topics. Yeah. And if you have a topic idea, let us know.
Email amy@jointheotherSide.com.
Yeah, send us some ideas, or if you know of somebody you're like, ooh, I wonder if you've talked to these people or whatever. I don't know.
Or anything. But yeah, or if you do have a question. I mean, I know people are clamoring to be on the Alcohol Free Marriage podcast, but we're trying to mix it up. So if you know somebody, shoot them our way.
We would love if anybody is out there and would like to be interviewed. We are interviewing people. The next show, we will be interviewing a friend of mine. Her name is Susan Joy. She's also a coach. And she does have a unique story. So
yes. Yep.
It is a story that could happen to any of us. So
don't think it can't happen to a soccer mom, because it can.
That's right. So please tune in. It will be of this serious nature.
A little deeper than
normal.
Definitely deeper than today, for sure.
Yeah, so we apologize.
Well, if you're into deep, if you're not.
Are you deep?
I'm not. I'm as deep as that wine glass. It's pretty. I don't know. You pour it pretty heavy.
I don't know.
I don't know. We don't know 5 ounce.
I mean,
even in NA, you don't know 5 ounce pour.
When you pour a glass now, I don't care.
No, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It's like Kool-Aid. All right, kids. Well, I think that's it for us for this week. Again, if you want to email amy@jointheotherSide.com, she'll take all of your podcast and other feedback, interview requests, and the like. If you want to reach out to me, just email Amy, because she's my proxy. Anyway, that's it for us this week, kids. Wishing you peace and love from the cornfields. I am Matt, along with Coach Amy, and we are
out.